All right, it is 10 o'clock and we are ready for our next session, which is our panel discussion on women in health. Today we have Jana Utterbridge, Alicia Masini, Karen Grant Simmons, and we have the moderator, Arlene Simmons. And they are going to begin the conversation of health, mental health, anything to do with health, especially for us in the working world today, dealing with entrepreneurship, dealing with working with someone else, and the importance of it. And so I'm going to kick it off with our moderator, Arlene, who's going to everyone's going to introduce themselves, give a bit of background about themselves, and then start the conversation. So I hope you ladies enjoy. I will be on the background. You can use the Q&A for your questions and also your comments if you put them in there, and then we can get going.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women in Health. I'm Arlene. I'm the moderator this morning. I'm actually an administrator in the exam company arena in reinsurance, but my passion is essential oils. So I'm always interested in helping women with their health, their mental health, their physical health, and their families. So that's why I'm here today, so that we can just kick it off and see what these ladies have to say. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Let's do this, ladies.
So how should we start? Should we introduce ourselves?
You
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Jana Utterbridge. I am the owner of Mayvera Wellness. If you have not heard about Mayvera, it is a service that is dedicated to women and girls ages 7 to 107 plus. And the idea is to support women and girls across the lifespan. As a psychologist, I do offer one-to-one therapy, groups, family, different areas, anxiety, depression, self-esteem, you name it. I'm kind of digging in there and working with women and girls, workplace relationships, all of these things. And we have wraparound services. So we put on wellness retreats, have different groups for women and girls that they can come together. I am 100% mobile, virtual, so I do a lot of things in the community as well, in nature, hanging out and supporting relationships as well with mother and daughters, a whole lot of different things. So check out Mayvera Wellness on Instagram. In the stories is where lots of the information goes on, but you can also check out the website, and hopefully I can share some more that will help see why Mayvera is so important. Thank you.
We're already talking about mental health. I might as well jump in and introduce myself. Good morning, ladies. First of all, I want to thank you for the invitation to be here. My name is Alicia Masini, and I'm a professional counselor. I've been doing this for over 13 years now, and I support children, teens, families, adults who are connected to these families find peace, work through challenges, find emotional wellness and healing. My full-time job is at the Family Center, where I'm the counseling team leader. However, in March of this year, yes, this year, my thing is brand new. Literally 4 weeks before giving birth to my girls, Imani and Zola, I launched Alicia Masini, Right for Your Healing, while on bed rest, ladies, in Boston. I'm going in and out of the hospital with my daughters during the pregnancy. We did not have a smooth, soft launch. We launched in the midst of adversity. And that's one of the things I want to encourage women to do, is not wait for the smooth sailing to launch. Launch it now. So aliciamasini.com is where I'm at. Right for Your Healing provides free downloadable therapeutic and Christian journals for teens and women. And it also focuses around infertility and miscarriage, which was really birthed out of my own personal experiences. And so my business is literally was directed to my pain, taking that pain and pushing it into purpose, and also inviting women to do the same. So like I said, my business is brand new. It's 8 months. It's still a little baby. I birthed my business and then I birthed my babies. And what I'm most excited about is that in next year, it will be expanding to include perinatal mental health therapeutic groups to women that are pregnant, women that are postpartum. And so I'm super passionate about it, and also passionate about normalizing, as we're doing today, ladies, which is why I'm so excited, normalizing conversations about mental health and making mental health resources accessible. That's my passion. So I'm looking forward to this robust dialogue this morning. Let's get into it.
Okay, I am the other mental health person. I am Karen Grant Simmons, qualified mental health nurse practitioner, currently the clinical manager for community mental health services. But I'll share with you a secret. Come next week, I'll be the new clinical director of mental health services. So I will have to coordinate services all over the hospital. And just like Alicia says, my passion is moving mental health out into the community, primary prevention, getting it close to home, and reducing the stigma regarding mental health. So that is my passion, my baby.
Congrats.
That's awesome. We have an awesome panel this morning, everyone. So let's start this conversation. So we're going to talk about knowing when to switch off and taking those well-deserved breaks. As a business owner or manager, or of other businesses, we know that you may often wear many hats. How do you know when and if you need to hire staff?
Sure, I'll jump in. My disclaimer is I've not yet been in the position where I need to hire staff, right? But some of the things that I would kind of think might be signs are if you're in a constant state of stress, your adrenaline is surging, your work hours are unsustainable, right? The hours of you and your staff, and your high-performing employees are getting burnt out and exhausted due to inadequate support, right? That might be a sign that you might want to expand if those like daily demands are just overwhelming and it's not reasonable. It's not a matter of more training, right? It's a matter of human resource. And also, if you're looking to launch something new and you need like a specific skill set that no one on your team has. So you might need someone in financing, right? You may need someone in marketing. You might need someone in the operations side of things. Then you might want to consider expanding so that you're not having to train up into these type of skill sets. You can find someone that already has the expertise. So those are just some things that kind of come to mind. Maybe even if you feel like your customer services are starting to slip. So you're getting more complaints, getting more customers that are concerned because your turnaround is a bit slower and you're losing your highly valued clientele, your customers. That might be some reasons to consider, adding more staffing.
Mm-hmm. And also if overtime is increasing, especially for us here at the hospital, if you require a new skill set, then you might need to employ a subject matter expert in that field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I simply think if it's too expensive, as in it's taking up too much of my time, it would take too much time for me to train and learn, which is pretty much what we said. I'm like, that's too expensive for me. This is what my time needs to be spent on, is when I start to consider who else has the best skill set to be able to manage this task while remaining knowledgeable about it as much as I can. That's when I start to think, if that's taking up my client hour, too expensive for my time. Just hand that off to somebody else.
Outsource.
It's definitely.
Those are some good tips. Just before we became live, we talked about, trying to take a break or stepping away from our business life to our, our social or personal life. So how beneficial is it for you guys to step away from your personal business or your job? Like, how important is that?
I would say it's vital. Sometimes the best ideas and the best breakthroughs, the best insights that we have come when we're able to detach, and get some distance, get some perspective, and to see things from a different vantage point. Even from my personal experience, the idea for my venture came when I was vacationing with my husband in December of 2019. We were traveling, which we loved to do before COVID came and wrecked our lives. We were in Spain, living our best lives, traveling, and we were in this beautiful park, and there was like, the scenery was ideal. And we were just talking about life and where we were at and what we wanted out of life. And, I just started to talk to him, and we were trying to imagine our lives at that time without kids because we were experiencing infertility. And we were thinking like, how are other women coping with this? I was saying to him, because I don't hear many women talking about this because it's so painful and there's so much taboo that's placed around it. And that led to, us talking about, so what resources are out there for women in general? And what free therapeutic resources are available for women that just might need to just walk through it themselves, do some journaling and find some healing if they're not able to access, or they may not need a professional counselor to walk them through those steps. And so that was literally where my idea came from. It was a vacation. I literally bought my domain name, aliciamasini.com in Spain. And I didn't have a clear sense of what I was going to do. I just knew that something needed to be done. And I kind of started there. And I think it's also important to step away to really evaluate like your goals. Mm-hmm. Do you still want to do what you're doing? Have you changed your mind? Now that you're living it, you're breathing it, you're touching it, you're getting into that daily routine. Is it what you expected it to be? And it's okay if you need to change your mind. It's okay if now you're experiencing it, you recognize that this isn't what I want for my life anymore. It's not failure, it's attunement, right? It's being attuned to what you're experiencing here and now in the moment versus what you thought you'd be feeling. So those are just some things that kind of come to mind around like the importance of stepping away. I'd say is crucial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. Having those moments where you can take that pause, right? It does allow for that creativity. It allows for you to be able to be in a different environment, and you might be surprised some of the ideas that actually start to come up for you. Yeah, I definitely knew at one point I was working for like months and months on end. I think I was talking about before we came in, like my friends knew I'm going to send that email over there on the side. But I found I actually gave myself the first week off in a year, like a real week off. And I have come back with so many ideas for 2022. It reminded me how important it was for me. I booked that massage and that walk and just kind of tapped out of the business for a moment. And also my body was rejuvenated, right? I felt my physical health starting to improve as well. And it was a reminder to me how important those other areas of my life are to that physical health being, that exercise, that food, beyond me just thinking all the time. And I've been able to now pour that into my business, into my plans moving forward for 2022. Like I want to go beyond just thinking, in one direction. I was like, this really mattered in my life. Right? So it's so important. It's essential to schedule that in. And something that I use often, even before that week off, was a bit of a minute to minute. I tell people all the time, there are 1,440 minutes in a day. Pick one. Pick one to pour into yourself, even for 1 minute, and give yourself permission to say, you know what do I need to do that minute? That minute mattered. So we may have to alter our thoughts and our behaviors moving forward after that 1 minute pause. We might think, well, cycle. Actually, we just need to pull out a notepad and pen and really come up with a plan. What do I really need to do right now, right? Is it that I keep running in circles and, or do I need to hire somebody else to do this? There's minutes, right? Take that minute to pause. It's a lot of minutes in a day. Pick one. It don't have to be morning or afternoon. Pick one right after you finish listening to us. Take 1 minute, to pause, right? So yeah, that's what I think is so important.
And the research is clear that long hours backfire for people and for the company. Because if we do not take break, then it starts impacting our physical health. There's lack of sleep, can be heart disease. It affects our interpersonal skill. We start getting more moody, snapping at others. because we need that deserved break. And as Jana said, give yourself the permission to just take care of you. And that is for all the caregivers and the people pleasers. Please take some time out to take care of you. Because as I said, we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to revitalize.
Karen, I think you just answered basically my next question was going to be, what are the apparent signs that suggest that you need a break?
Well, there's a cliche they normally say, if you're looking like your old passport photo.
I love it.
Meaning you're reflecting signs of irritability, stress, tension, headaches, you're getting into frequent arguments with your co-workers, having trouble falling asleep, persistently waking up too early, your personal life is suffering, not spending enough time with your spouse, with your family, can't go to the PTA meetings. If you are no longer enthusiastic about work, in the morning you require the strength of Hercules to get out of bed. Also, if more hills become mountains, things that you would enjoy before is becoming insurmountable, then you need that well-deserved break. You need that downtime.
I'm here for it. I don't have anything else to say if that was the next question. I think that answers it. I do. That's not getting enough sleep and not being able to stay asleep. I check in with myself on that one. I'm like, hey. I fell asleep and I'm so exhausted. I didn't even know I went to sleep. Like, what about questions? You answered that. I'm staying out of that one.
And also, if your downtime is not feeling as downtime, when you go home, you can't get time to walk. You can't get time to go for music. You just falling back in the couch. That's not healthy either.
I agree.
So ladies, you have it from the experts. We need to take care of ourselves. Just last week, I think I read something that said, if we took the amount of time, if we did the same amount of time that took our time for ourselves as we do when we charge our phones, we would be in better health.
Wow.
If you just look at the amount of time it takes for you to just plug your phone into the wall just to get that charge, if we took that for ourselves,
that's true.
It would work for it would be better for us. So Karen again has answered my next question, which what's the downside for your health or business if you're not taking a break? If you're not taking those breaks, if you're not recharging, what's the downside? You answered it already, but reiterate it because, we women, we just tend to just go until we reach that wall and we hit the wall. So if you could just reiterate that.
And you won't be good at solving issues.
Yeah.
Decision making, innovativity, creativity, it is going to suffer.
Yes. Some of us don't realize that we've been in a perpetual state of stress because we've been there for so long, right? It becomes normalized. So some of us are literally in this place of like fight, fright, freeze responses where our bodies are like flooded with stress hormones. And we think that it's motivation and drive because anxiety looks like, gotta keep on going, gotta keep on moving. Do, right? And so it's easy to interpret anxiety in particular as motivation. And what happens is we got those reinforcements often from other people. Wow, how did you get all this done in a day? Wow, you're finished already? Man, you're such a hard worker. And that's why anxiety in particular, for us professionals can be so hard to even recognize that it's there. And this perpetual state of these stress hormones are literally bathing in our body, these cortisols, right? Because it can actually convey the message that we're succeeding because of it. And so we're afraid to find ease. We're afraid to find pause. We're afraid to find stillness. Also because our identity becomes so meshed with our performance. That we think that we're not as worthy, that we think that we're not as valuable if we're not performing, if we're not doing, if we're not grinding. And social media doesn't help because we wake up to these messages that are like, grind hard today. All right, team no sleep. We're going to get it today. And I'm like, where's team wellness? Where's team happiness? Where's team peace? We're team joy. Because if you're working hard and you're grinding and you're not happy, and as Karen said, and your relationships are falling apart, is this success? Or is success more holistic than grinding hard, profit margin, reputation is increasing, right? It's a bit more well-rounded than that, I want to propose.
Yeah. It's so interesting. As you were talking, I started to think of words like being a perfectionist and performance-based love, that performance-based, oh, wow, you're so successful.
Yes.
And it's almost like, it feels like it's pouring into you, and behind the scenes, you're so drained, you're so burnt out, but you get that recognition, right? For performing well. And actually, it's really unhealthy behind the scenes, and that's not good mental health. That's not really being able to take care of yourself, right? And that couldn't help but pop out as you was talking, because you're right. So many of us have coined this as our personality and the way we operate. But all the negative effects that it's having on our body, that it's having on our relationships, in so many other areas, that we just get this tunnel vision, continuing to try to go to receive something that have we really been rewarded for, because it's actually not coming from a healthy place at all. And so many of us are unaware of that as people in general, but especially as women. We it's often overlooked.
I would agree. I would say some of us think that we're sick, but we're stressed.
Yes.
So sometimes we might go to the doctor. I don't think that we fully have recognized, let me say this first, how much mental health and physical health are intertwined.
Exactly.
And so we might go to the doctor and say, man, I keep on getting these migraine headaches. Man, I keep on having digestive issues. Man, my high blood pressure is really high. Man, I can't sleep. So what happens is, when we're not able, some things are legitimately only medically related, right? So let's acknowledge that. But some things are solely tied to our emotional state, to our lifestyle, to the choices that we're making every single day. And so some of us don't necessarily need to make a medical appointment once that's been ruled out, just to be very clear, once all those things are ruled out, that it's not just a medical cause. Some of us also need to be booking an appointment with Dr. Jana Utterbridge for counseling. Because we want to, little plug in.
My new clients in January. I need a break in December, okay? I'm on vacation.
Fair enough. Let's promote her wellness and her balance. I call her in January, y'all. So some of us, seriously though, the way that we prioritize, especially as women more than men, we will prioritize going to the doctor, but we may not prioritize seeing a counselor. We may not prioritize seeing a clinical psychologist to tap into our emotional state. I just want to propose that a healthier you leads into a healthier business, and a healthier business can lead into healthier cash flow. So it's all intertwined. Healthier you, healthier business, healthier cash flow, all intertwined.
I agree. I completely.
That's awesome.
So,
let's talk about mental health, since we're touching on, on mental health. I notice in my business, if I ask people, tell me your top 3 health concerns, the first one is stress, sleep, and digestion, which Alicia, you just reached on, you just touched on. So how do you feel about the increase in mental health issues that have become more apparent during COVID?
Well, the pandemic has really reinforced that mental health issues or problems can affect just about anyone. It does not respect age, race, gender, your socioeconomic status, because there were varying systematic review analysis showing that almost a third of the US adult population was suffering from anxiety and depression. And anxiety you can understand, because this was a new virus. People were getting misinformation, persons worrying, am I going to get COVID? Am I going to maintain my job? You have death of family members, some feeling fearful, some feeling lonely. So it has really put mental health even more on the map. And we had to be more creative start doing telemedicine, telepsychiatry, telepsychology to support our clients and to boost their resilience. But this has really highlighted that mental illness is no respect of anyone.
Yeah, I would agree. And at that time, anything that was really unresolved, any unresolved traumas, any other challenges that people may have been going through, I mean, it almost hit. It was like everything came out at once, and people were able to realize they didn't have the skills to be able to cope and be able to manage previously. So there was almost absolutely nothing to pull on to, to pull on, to know how to be able to support yourself. And obviously that was a very unknown situation, right? We didn't know. Everybody was like, what? And some may have managed a bit better than others. And possibly because they had a few extra tools in their toolkit previously to be able to cope. But that doesn't mean it was easy for anyone at all. But for others, it really became very present. I think, that telemental health, people did step up and start to say, you know what, this is my time. And in some ways, people have been able to get the help that they need because it was right in your face. It was absolutely nothing you could do about it. And I have found that people have reached out for services who have either never been in services before and said, you know what, this pandemic is not, and so for some people, they got the help that they may have needed, that they may have never even realized, and their lives are functioning so much better and differently, even though we're still in the midst of so many different challenges and unknown at this time. They have more tools in the toolkit, to be able to pull on.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what's already been said, that there was a disruption in many of us from using our typical coping skills, especially thinking about lockdown, right? How traumatic lockdown was for all of us, right? So there was this global isolation, right? And we were all moving through this collective trauma together. And so conversations about trauma were coming to the surface more than typical. There was all this daily information coming out about, COVID data and death. And also information was coming out about how alcoholism was increasing and domestic violence was increasing. Yes. And abuses of all forms are increasing. And with children not being in schooling, right? There were less opportunities for abuse to be reported. So we know it was increasing, but the reporting was decreasing, right? And so there were all these different things that were happening at the same time, including Black Lives Matter, right? There was a lot of racial trauma that was going on. And some of us were protesting, myself included, here in Bermuda, about all of these kind of like complex trauma, like all these things that were coming at us one time. And there was no manual for this. There was no manual. Even us as clinicians and clinical psychologists, clinical nurses, we had to retrain and retool because a lot of us had never done virtual counseling before. And so we were wanting to make sure that we could provide the best support possible while managing our own collective trauma.
Exactly.
And still being of support to others. So it's been a wide range of emotions for I think a lot of us. I think some of us are numb and we don't realize we're numb. I think some of us are a bit disconnected from what's hutting because we just can't take in all the COVID numbers each day or each week. And so I agree with Dr. Utterbridge. She said that there's a lot of people that are now seeking counseling. There's a quote in TCI, Therapeutic Crisis Intervention, that says that crisis is an opportunity for change. Crisis is an opportunity for change. So we've been in the crisis. We're still in the crisis. And with that crisis becomes an opportunity for change because we can no longer do life the way we've been doing it all this time. I think that COVID is part of that.
I'd agree.
Thanks, ladies. How do you overcome challenging situations? I know with women, we have a whole lot going on up in here. And how do you overcome that? How do you stop the noise? How do you overcome the challenges within your own mental health?
As before we start to answer, so sorry, I would love to also have people in the chat answer this question. It's possible that the thing that someone else needs to hear might actually happen in the chat box.
Yes.
It might just not happen with us speaking. So I would love for you who are chat, like you are a part of this. I want you to have your voice be a part of this conversation. If you can fill up the chat box of your responses to this question as well, and we'll find the opportunity to read some of the comments so that we can have your voice be a part of this conversation. All right, let's put that out there.
Love that idea. I'm here for it. It goes with narrative, right? We healing conversation with others, right? So as much as we are the panel, that's what that speaks to. There is a message that someone else may have to share that we can take and say, wow, I mean, only 3 of us of our collective experience, a couple years between us, on the planet, but all of us started to have that conversation. That's healing. So I think that's excellent. And what I was going to answer the question was around self-awareness, being able to figure out what is it that you need. What are the areas of your life that may not be serving you well, acknowledging that those areas aren't serving you well and starting to think about what do I need to do differently? Do I need to challenge my thinking in this area? Do I need to incorporate new healthy behaviors? Because there's that link. Right. Sometimes we're like, my thoughts are all over the place. I can't figure it out. I don't know. We have to say, okay, well, focus on your behaviors. What are you currently doing that isn't serving you well? Are you, getting 2 hours of sleep every night? Well, that's not going to serve you well. So let's start to think about how do we just focus on changing your behavior so that you can start to get, more hours of sleep. I don't know how many hours you're supposed to get. I was going to say 7 to 8, but I don't want to get in trouble if it's supposed to be more or less than that.
That is correct.
Go ahead, Karen.
No, I said that's correct. 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, getting something right.
6 and under can lead to depression just by nature of having 6 and under. For us new moms, I know, do you see the importance of perinatal mental health? Because any new mom is saying, yeah, that's me every night, myself included. But so yeah, it's supposed to be, that's correct.
Yeah. And so start to think about what areas of my life need to change so that I'm getting more rest, right? This is just one example. And so it may mean balancing out other parts of your day to ensure that you're able to go to bed at a certain time. So you may not be able to change all of your thinking and be able to figure it all out, but you know that these behaviors are not serving you well. So let's just focus on that. And that's where self-awareness is so important. It's key to start to acknowledge that. So that'll be one of my first steps to start, but let's incorporate what others have to say. And I can also chime in on a few other things as well.
For me, I try to attack things in bite-sized chunks because oftentimes before I'll try to jump from the first step up to the top, then I fall and I get discouraged. So I have to tell myself one step at a time. I also try not to focus as much on fall. I try to see where did I slip so I don't go back and fall again. And for me, celebration. I never used to celebrate after I accomplish one thing. Oh, what is next? What is next? What is next on the list? I never take a pause to reflect or to celebrate.
Yes, I love it. That's so important. It's often missed to acknowledge those accomplishments.
Because it's a tiny accomplishments.
Listen, as women, we don't do that. And there's a whole narrative as to why we don't stop to celebrate ourselves. But that is so important. Yeah. Being able to, in your journal, like if you journal or just acknowledge the things that you did well throughout the day. Be able to acknowledge things in your past that you're proud of, just taking those moments to kind of put all that together, that helps to pour into your cup as well.
We just take it for granted.
Acknowledge that. Yeah. But I'm all for celebrate yourself. Anyone that knows me, I see some people that know me in this chat, I am celebrate yourself, sis. Because if we don't stop to celebrate.
That's right. Who will?
Ooh. I mean, teach people how to treat us, right? By being able to acknowledge those things. They celebrate with us. So I find within my friend circles, we start celebrating. We will intentionally pick up that phone because we started to acknowledge how important that support is.
Yes.
And as women, we create this sisterhood, even if it's extended, by being able to say, hey, listen, I'm proud of you for doing that. There's a quote that I offer and receive all the time, I'm proud of you. They're like, what? This is so random. I'm like, you'll get used to it. I'm going to celebrate you along the way. So I agree. Okay, go ahead.
No, I actually wanted to add one of the comments from the chat. Regina Ferguson said that self-reflection as the root cause of the reason why something is wrong. So she writes, right? I know that you just mentioned Dr. Utterbridge writing, and this usually helps her to get focused. So again, we're just looking in the chats for any ideas that you guys have. You guys are reading my mind. That's one of the things that I do to help overcome is kind of remind myself of my resilience, remind myself of things I've been through. So now coming off of my recent life journey, I'm like, girl, you did bed rest for over 100 days. You got pregnant where they said that you couldn't. Your baby survived where they said that your baby's weren't going to survive. Girl, you can do anything. Like coming off of this, post-traumatic growth is a real thing for us that have been through stuff. If we allow it to and do the healing work, we can come on the other side of it and say, but guess what? I am victorious over all of this stuff. So there is nothing that you can't bring me that I cannot work through. And I also like to take approach of kind of like putting myself in the place where I can actually play forward my biggest fears and just take the power away from it, take the mystery out of it. So then we were walking on that park in Spain, and I said, wow, we actually may not ever have kids based on how dismal everything was looking. How could life look like without kids? And I started to try to find peace and acceptance if that was the path. And that allowed me to overcome the challenge because it no longer had power over me. I took the power back and I said, nope. This is not going to be something that controls my life. I'm going to find peace. I'm going to create the life that I want, even if I can't have this thing that I desperately wanted so badly. And so play the narrative forward. So I have a friend, I wish she was here. Just yesterday, she's an entrepreneur as well. She's in the States, and she's like, man, sis, God is telling me to quit my job, and I'm freaking out. I got like 3 kids and a husband and a mortgage, and I want to take my business to the next level. God is telling me to take my business to the next level, but I am just like paralyzed with fear. And so we talked that thing out. Okay, so what happens? Let's play this tape all the way out. What happens if you quit and you fail? You're not going to die. Not gonna, your family's still going to be alive. Your kids still going to be healthy and happy. You still going to have a roof over your head, right? You still going to eat. The worst thing that you think has power over you, if you really play that tape out, it has way less power than you think.
That's true.
So diffuse the power, play that tape out, and find peace and acceptance with the worst case scenario, and you can take it on. You can take it on.
Yeah,
that's true.
I love it.
Tying this in with mental health. What about the mask? The mask. Working for others. How hard is it to smile when things are not going the way you want or the way you need? How hard is it?
It can be quite difficult and frustrating if things are not going the way it seems. You get
How do you
worried.
motivate yourself to keep going when things are not going your way, or you're not receiving the things that you need?
Well, you have to control your feelings and emotions before they start controlling you. As Alicia and Jana said, you have to stop and pause, re-examine. Is there another approach I can use? Is there another way? We never change our goals, but we can change what we're doing to accomplish those goals. So we keep our goals in mind, but we try to research our obstacle. What is preventing me from getting here? We have a plan and we stick to it. But it is never nice when things are not going the way we want. But if we are patient, things will change.
I have a question, and this is me reflecting. Why are we smiling beyond the mask again?
So that's
so.
Go there.
So that's where that. So I love the question, but it strikes me, right, and I can't help but think. Sometimes when we're given our messages, they may not be serving us well, right? Why am I smiling beyond the mask now if I'm going back to my point on self-awareness,
Yeah.
I have to be able to stop and give myself a moment to acknowledge this isn't feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to just, no, I'm going to get to obviously moving forward, but it makes me think, maybe we have to stop smiling, behind the mask and giving ourselves an opportunity to really acknowledge what's going on with us, because this is why we end up in places of burnout. We have poor communication because we haven't even been able to model these things within our own lives, right? And that doesn't mean the day stops. I get it. But, the day stops and all things stop and we all just kind of are able to move away. But I think we have to stop and really be able to say, this is what's going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I'm really feeling behind my mask, whichever mask I showing or not. and then decide what is the real plan moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm not just kind of pushing through behind this mask. I'm not just smiling through the mask. I'm not just doing that. I'm really making real life changes that are going to serve me well.
Yes.
So that's what strikes me when I hear that. I'm like, I am not smiling through the mask. I'm just going to, this is me. I'm done smiling through the mask. This is done for me. No, I get it. And then it goes back to the same thing. What is the behaviors that we need to do? Who is it? What are the resources that we need? And I think about the workplace, right? Oftentimes we experience burnout because of lack of support and lack of resources, right? So then it's thinking about, okay, if we've already spoken up 101,000 times about the lack of support and lack of resources, listen, since you're only one person. So as much as the demands might be on about all the things we have to do, we have to be realistic about what can actually be achieved within that day.
Yeah.
Because now this is starting to think about practicing that good mental health. What can I really do realistically? Well, this is what it is. And having those conversations with your supervisors, with your colleagues. And then if everybody's like, well, it don't matter, you are responsible for doing 3 jobs in one. You got me confused. You're not going to do that. That's not okay. And yes, you have to maintain your role, but you be realistic with what you can do within your work time. Where's the cutoff period with that? And then also if it means having to move on to other workspaces, other work environments, because this is no longer serving you well, it's starting to think about what is that plan for you moving forward to ensure your peace, to ensure your happiness, to ensure you're still able to financially support yourself, right? While having, that good mental health.
Yeah, I'm with you. I believe in trying to show up as authentically yourself as possible.
Yeah.
And if you're providing, especially, I think in general, right, we all deserve that. But especially if you are providing a service where you are the offering, like you're doing coaching, you're doing counseling. I think it's important for people to know that you can be your authentic self and not try to sell this like overly positive, false narrative. I know that our social media is full of like smiling and I'm living my best life ever and I'm happy 24/7 and look at me, I'm making $1 million a year and everything is like falsely positive. And there's lots of masking that happens in social media. And so I get why there is a likelihood for us to move in that way. That's why I've intentionally branding my business about being both relatable and clinically trained. So my business was not birthed with a smile and a mask. My business was birthed in the midst of adversity, which I've been conveying as a way of trying to communicate to women that you don't have to wear a mask. You can be your vulnerable self. You can be your authentic self. And actually, it may actually improve your business.
Yeah.
You actually might attract people with your honesty than you do with your mask, right? And so I think that we can perhaps look at as entrepreneurs, as women, we can create a model of success that not only works for our business, but also works for us as well.
That's a powerful point, Alicia. I'll conclude by saying, as women also, we like making comparisons.
Yeah.
And nobody is going to put up their worst photo or state on social media. Everybody is going to put up the best. It might not be realistically what is taking place in their life. And then we start comparing ourselves to others and we start getting miserable. We set our goals and we work pace. Stop comparing ourselves to others and demeaning ourselves.
Stopping us already. We could just get
Got that prompt.
I'm not stopping you. We are over, but the conversation has been so amazing. So I'm not stopping it yet because during this time we're doing a social media post and things like that for people to take a break. I don't think anybody wants a break right now because you guys are really rocking it. And so there are some questions. So I do want to go into the questions and then I'll allow some more conversation. Okay?
Sure.
So I'm just going to filter this. We have 3 questions. Jamila asked, how do you take the time? Sometimes life doesn't allow it. Kids, work, husband. Is it selfish to take the time?
I think getting your priorities really clear helps. There might be some asks that you turn down because your priorities say that in this moment, I'm choosing family. I know when I was about 2 months into my postpartum, I got this request to do this speaking engagement that was huge. It was international. I wanted to say yes. And I was tempted to say yes, but I said no, because my time with my babies were more valuable than anything else, right? And so sometimes you have to know for that moment, for that day, what is your priority and be unapologetic about it. One day it might be your business, right? But one day it might be you. You need to go exercise. You need to go to a counseling session. You get to choose at any given moment. There's fluidity here. What is most important to you? It doesn't have to be business as your number one go-to of priority. Give yourself flexibility there.
Yeah, I agree, Alicia. And you know what? The other thing I would add on to that, give yourself permission to change your mind.
Yes.
You know, and that being okay, because you may have initially said yes, and it may be like, oh, I'm gonna let everybody down, and maybe, but the likelihood that the world will crash and burn because you changed your mind, it's not very likely, right? So you have that opportunity to say, you know what, I did commit to this 3 months ago. Unfortunately, right now, the space and time that I'm in, I'm actually not able to do that. I apologize. If I can support it anyway, I can hand over information or whatever the case may be. And you would find most times people were like, you know what, it's okay. Now, that doesn't mean they don't scramble behind the scenes. And I've had to scramble behind the scenes to fix things. But you know what, it still comes off and actually you were still able to protect yourself. But usually we don't want to change our mind because it's something about letting others down and not getting it right and a whole lot of other negative core beliefs that we have. The world didn't crash and burn and I've had to say no. I've had to change my mind, and it still looks like it's standing reasonably okay, you know. So, yeah.
Can I add what Carla Georgia said in the chat, that we cannot pour from an empty cup? That right there.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next question is it safe to say that work-life balance, business life balance is a continual work in process, and we should always be striving to strike this right balance?
Yes, because as I said, if we don't maintain work-life balance, then it is going to impact our mental health and our physical health in the long run.
And I'd also say give yourself grace for not figuring it out yet. It's a lot. There are going to be days, weeks, seasons where you're going to be completely out of balance. And sometimes that can be internalized as, man, I just can't get it right. It's not you, it's the season. Sometimes it's not you. It's a season of extra busyness, right? So give yourself grace, give yourself compassion that you are a work in progress, that life is a work in progress, and that you will be forever likely trying to figure this stuff out. And you're not alone. That's why someone mentioned here about having an entrepreneurship tribe. Yeah, your tribe helps to normalize that it's not just you.
Another question, Eureka, do women find it more difficult to strike a balance compared to men?
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to.
Yeah.
I think we more want to be perfectionists and stuff like that, and the varying different roles that we have. I think it is more difficult. We are also more emotional. So as Jana said, we want to keep our word, we want to do this, and we put a lot more pressure on ourselves.
I think we're socialized. We're trained from young.
Yes.
That doll baby in your hand at like all of 3 years old. Coda, take care of that doll baby. Like we're socialized to be caretakers, to care for, to give, nurture. And look, if my babies go out the door with a little snot in their nose, ain't no one looking at their daddy. They're looking at me. Like we hold the responsibility, no matter how much things have quote unquote changed.
I love it. Yeah.
Ourselves from the expectations of others. Don't wait for other people to get it. You get it. Don't wait for them to get it. You get it first for yourself, because they're going to set expectations for you hard, but you got to say no. I return to sender. That's your expectation. That's not mine. You can keep it. I know what I'm responsible for, and it's not holding everyone up 24/7.
I think you're right. I think, we are conditioned, probably generally, a lot different to be able to be that, have to go to, that person. But I'm going to say, and so let's look at this as individuals. Let's all just focus on our own individual story, because there are some men that can quite strike the balance, either. So I think it's what's been modeled to us, what we've been exposed to as individuals. So I think generally, I guess my immediate answer would be yes, but everyone really needs to take that pause on their own individual narrative and think about what behaviors they have learned and, how it has affected them as an individual. And that might be beyond, that masculine, feminine, that male, female. It really is your own personal experience, because there's a no for me on certain things. And it doesn't matter.
But as I said, for women, I think we
never, and it's never going to. So, I've learned my value, and I said somewhere we have to draw the line. So it's what you've been taught to.
All right, ladies, we have 3 more questions. So the next one is from Regina. Is procrastination of the little things a sign of being overwhelmed, even though you are hitting the big things?
Is procrastination?
That depends, because sometimes not everything can fit into 1 week. Sometimes you have to expand your timetable. So that depends. If you are becoming overwhelmed in a particular period of time, it is okay for you to extend the time. But if it is a habit that you keep putting off things, well, that is not good. But there are some times when we set a particular time frame and things just can't fit into it. It is okay for us to expand that timetable.
I agree.
All right, the next question. Isn't COVID throwing that idea of a work-life balance out the window? We are living in extreme loss of jobs, loss of loved ones, yet we still keep on living, and many things are out of balance. So isn't COVID throwing that idea of work-life balance out of the window?
I think.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a really good question. I think that's why we have to toss the idea of the sense of getting it right all the time out the window, because it's not realistic to live in balance constantly. And I get that this season is one where balance is extremely difficult. So I'm struggling with the question. But the sense that really comes up for me is I think that we just really have to give ourselves grace, because again, there's no rule book for this. I think balance looks different at every season. I'm not sure what you're going to say, Jana.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in my life that I've worked with have far more work-life balance in so many ways, because they have offered themselves permission to say, I can't be a part of all the things that's given. So, and have forced themselves to say, nope, time for me to go, whatever. I could just blame it on pandemic and COVID, so in some ways, I don't know, I guess it depends on each individual. And I think you're right. Let's not miss the opportunity to acknowledge there's been a lot of job loss, lots of changes. So it has affected different families very differently. So I don't want to dismiss that. So for some, that might be very true. However, I hear for a lot of others, it's worked really well. They're like, nope, can't do it, gotta go, creating that balance in life. So I think it'll be hard to really say what all the outcomes are right here, right now. Today, we may know more on what's really happening a couple of years from now.
But perhaps that's go ahead.
Sorry. COVID has really created a challenge because for me, like for a year, I wasn't exercising. And at work, I could not get breaks. Sometimes I was skipping meals.
Yeah.
So, but for work-life balance, it has to be a purposeful step. I had to step back to say, I need to take that break. Then I'm going to start having the stomach issues when I go home in the evening. I need to try to get back to exercising. So I started doing some 10-minute stuff. But for a year, as you said, out of balance, wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So we have no specific timetable to stick by. It's just a purposeful, conscious effort that we try.
I agree.
Which is why I think it's really important to depersonalize some of the things that we're experiencing, that anyone going through a global pandemic is going to feel life out of balance. It's not you, it's the season. It's what's happening around you, right? And so I think that also might be helpful to kind of keep in contact as we're talking about balance, because we've never had to do this before, right? So it may not be you, it may be the season, and you're trying to find balance in a situation that you've never been in before. So let's give ourselves the abundance of grace.
All right, ladies, we're almost running out of time, but I do have a couple more questions. If you can kind of wrap it up really quickly before I do the closeout. We do have Kim Lawrence that said, can you provide some signs of burnout? I think a lot of women don't realize the signs.
As I said earlier, we had said it earlier that signs of burnout include looking like your old passport. You are feeling stressed, not able to get up in the mornings to go to work early. It is affecting your sleep pattern. Also at home, your mind is constantly on work. You can't get your mind off work. You are feeling lethargic. By the time you go in, you're using unhealthy choices to cope. You're going to grab for the wine as soon as you get into the door. Those are all signs that you are not coping well. You are on the verge of burnout. And what I would often say to senior management is a burnout nurse is a dangerous nurse because you can't concentrate on stuff much. You can't make healthy decisions. So that is also signs that we need more employees, too much demand for the workload.
All right. Delight said, I wish we could dispel the notion of the strong Black woman or work-life balance. Both gives us undue pressure to perform in ways that are unreasonable. And Eureka said, so true, Delight. So ladies, I have to wrap up this. Go ahead, Jana. Give me a comment.
Oh, I got to say something on that. So I agree with the strong Black woman. It's not my thing. It's not something I go for. It's a no for me. I don't even, because words mean things, and this idea of having to be strong kind of depends on how you tell your story about what strong is. So I think that it can be problematic. The work-life balance one, and possibly I'm misinterpreting it. I find that is what you take your narrative to be. Say, I'm probably the strong Black woman. What is your work-life balance? What does that mean to you? So I would dispel, I definitely am not for the strong Black woman and where that has gone. I think it is not serving Black women as well as I think it could be. But work-life balance, maybe I would need more contacts on that, but I enjoy it. Like, what does it look like for you? And you write your story around that one. Is where I heard. So anyway, that's just what came to my mind. So I would love to talk more about these things to break it down for other perspectives.
So ladies, like I said, I want to wrap up this session, but I don't want to end it. Like, this has been a really great conversation, a really great start to our panel discussions. And if the rest are going to be like this, oh my gosh, you have so much in store for the rest of the day. So ladies, I want to thank you for being a part of our panel. Great discussion this morning. We all know that health, without health, you can't survive. You can't do for yourself. I have some takeaways. Give yourself permission and a minute to pause. A healthier you, healthier business equals healthier cash flow and create the life you want. And so just really amazing. Can't wait to talk to you guys again, meet you in person, and be able to have these great conversations. Don't forget, attendees, you can make sure that you go to the speaker page. You can look at their information. You can connect with them. There were some questions in the chat that were left. There was one question, and so you can send messages to these ladies, get these answers. Too bad we ran out of time because the chat was popping. I don't know if you ladies had a brief time to look through it. I mean, it has been some really good comments in the chat. We do save these chat features and can look at them afterwards and reach out to people, but just phenomenal. You beautiful ladies on the screen. Again, thank you for connecting. Our next session is going to be our keynote speaker, so don't forget, go to the schedule, click on that session, and then we'll both to start in about 2 to 3 minutes. All right. Have a good one, ladies. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully you'll join us on some more sessions. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.